Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start the Redevelopment Agency meeting this morning and so convene the April 4th, 2012 call to order. Meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV Cable Channel 2 and are closed caption for our hearing impaired viewers. Please note some customers of Cox Communication who do not have a cable box may view this meeting on digital channel 89.5. The Redevelopment Agency meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, may be viewed on the city's website at www.kclv.tv. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV Channel 2 and the web. The Wednesday of the meeting at 8 p.m., also Friday at 4 a.m., Saturday 7 p.m., and Sunday at 7 a.m., and the following Monday at 1 p.m. This building is protected by a state-of-the-art fire detection and suppression sprinkler system. If alarms should activate during today's meetings, please evacuate using the exits. Once outside, assemble on the Las Vegas Boulevard side of the property. That isn't quite accurate, is it? They exit the Lewis end. Hold on one second. I want to make sure we have this correctly so noticed. The Main Street side, thank you. This needs to be redone. And employees wearing safety vests or our city marshals will inform you when it's safe to re-enter the building. If there is anyone present today who has a need for hearing impaired equipment, please see the city clerk's staff up front here. If you parked in the parking garage across the street and did not receive a validation ticket as you entered, please exit to your right and see the security personnel at the entrance. We will move on to item number 3. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. The amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All comments made will be cross-referenced to those specific items. If anyone submitted a speaker card or who wishes to speak under this portion of the agenda, please come to the podium and state your name for the record. We will set the time at 1 minute. Hearing none, we will move on to item number 4. For possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular Redevelopment Agency meeting of February 15th, 2012, may I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes?
I will make a motion to approve the February 15th, 2012 redevelopment minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. There's a motion. Please vote. Please post.
I know. Sorry. Where am I? Come on, why isn't it up? Yes, when you vote in there, it never came on, by the way. That's the problem. Well, mine didn't.
Please post.
She voted for me.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 5. Discussion for possible action regarding a temporary license agreement between Susan G. Komen, Southern Nevada, and the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency, RDA, for use of property owned by the RDA for the Susan G. Komen, Southern Nevada Race for the Cure, located at 500 South Las Vegas Boulevard. This is in Ward 3, Councilman Coffin. Mr. Arndt, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, members of Council. Bill Arntz, Director, Economic and Urban Development. This item is to support the Susan G. Komen Southern Nevada Race for the Cure. The race is starting at Las Vegas Boulevard and Clark, and it's going to be held downtown on May 5th, and the Redevelopment Agency is supporting the event by offering some property at no cost for use for staging for the race. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Arndt. Any questions or comments? Councilman Coffin?
Your Honor, I move for approval.
Thank you very much. There's a motion. Please vote. Please post.
I vote aye. Could someone come help get this on?
And do you want to vote your own? Councilman Barlow. It's okay? Okay. Please post. Thank you very much. Briefly, I saw the motion carried. We will move on to item number 6. Discussion for possible action regarding the submission of the preliminary plan for redevelopment Area 2 from the City of Las Vegas Planning Commission. This is in Councilwoman Tarkanian's Ward 1. Mr. Arndt.
Thank you. This item is for introducing a new redevelopment project area, which we are calling redevelopment area number 2. The city, through its redevelopment agency, manages an existing redevelopment project area which encompasses over 3,900 acres, primarily in the core of downtown Las Vegas. We, as staff, were directed by the agency and by the board to take a look at evaluating possible land for either expanding the existing or introducing a new project area, and this item accomplishes the latter. We have prepared a preliminary plan in accordance with State Law NRS 279.524 and 279.526, and this preliminary plan identifies 3 areas which are commercial corridors west of downtown, including the West Sahara Avenue corridor, which includes Richfield Village and Los Verdes Heights. It also includes West Charleston Boulevard, which includes a Hyde Park subdivision, and then South Decatur Boulevard. We are requesting that the agency board accept the preliminary plan and direct staff to continue the analysis when the next major step is to present a final plan to the board. I do have some maps on the overhead that I'm going to briefly run through. This first map shows the area in yellow is actually overlay of Ward 1, the current boundaries for Ward 1, and the area highlighted in gray is the land that we're studying for the possible introduction of a new redevelopment plan area. Why we're setting this out as an area separate from the existing area is that we want to manage it separately, manage its finances separately, and have a separate term than the existing agency, which is an existing plan area, which is due to sunset in 2031. We want this area to have a 30-year life, meaning it would sunset in 2042. So you see there the areas highlighted in gray, which are the areas proposed by this preliminary plan.
A question, Mr. Arndt?
Yes.
In the event of changes in boundaries and redistricting, would that will be the definitive area of this redevelopment, regardless of redistricting?
Thank you, Mayor. That's correct. So regardless of how the ward overlays look in the future, we actually have to identify in this preliminary plan and throughout this process individual parcels to add to the area. So there are actually parcels at the parcel level where we're adding individual parcels to the redevelopment area.
Councilman Anthony?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Bill, the gray area are the areas that have been identified so far as the blighted areas, correct?
Correct.
And it's my understanding that you're going to hire a consultant to go over these areas to make sure that they fit the NRS definition of a blighted area, so we're not extending it out too far. Is that correct?
That's generally correct. There are generally 3 steps for the process, and this is step 2 of the 3-step process. Step 1 was directing staff to study an area for a possible evaluation. Step 2 is actually to go out and evaluate the area, prepare a preliminary plan. Between step 2 and step 3, we're proposing to hire a consultant for a very small fee to basically validate in-field surveys that we've done. The blight work, the blight surveys, where we look at each property, each parcel, property by property, to see if it meets the state definition of blight. You're not acting on that item today. You will in the final plan. But before we get to that step, we're going to have an independent third-party consultant to basically verify and validate our staff's work. So this is the area, and because this is a very map of a very large area, I have a few maps I'm just going to thumb through showing the area at a more detail. So this shows Charleston, Carter, and it shows it says Charleston A, and this shows the area that is on the western leg of Charleston. Charleston B, that this shows the eastern leg of Charleston, which runs from Decatur on the left side of the map down towards I-15. This map, Decatur A, shows the northern area of Decatur, which we're proposing to add as part of this preliminary plan, which runs from 95 down towards but not all the way to Charleston. And then RDA Decatur B, which we've labeled as Decatur B. This includes the area from generally the Alta area all the way down to Charleston and Sahara. Sahara Avenue, we have a western leg which runs from Rainbow toward Decatur, and then an eastern leg, RDA Sahara B, which runs from Decatur Valley View all the way down to the I-15 corridor. So these are the areas which are proposed. I would note that we have had several community meetings dating back to the fall of 2010, both with neighborhood associations as well as business constituencies, and we've shared these same maps, received some feedback on the proposed expansion, and at this point I'd like to recommend approval of the preliminary plan, which will allow us to proceed to completing the blight study, have that third-party independent verification, and submit a final plan before you and the board. It will go to the Planning Commission and the City Council, and the City Council, before adoption, there will be a public hearing. So the public is going to get another big crack at this as far as looking at it, understanding what it means, what it doesn't mean, and can understand how redevelopment can benefit their neighborhoods. And the primary benefit is, as you know, is it's a fiscal tool to take new taxes from new development and reinvest it back into the area. So just like we've done in downtown, we're looking to do this in some of our older commercial corridors just west of downtown. And with that, I recommend approval, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, council?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, Councilman Barlow.
Yes, Mr. Arndt, thank you so very much for the presentation. As it relates to the community and specifically the business owners, how many neighborhood meetings have been conducted specifically for those properties who will be impacted, or not necessarily impacted, but basically will be bound by the new redevelopment area?
Thank you, Councilman Barlow. We've actually held 11 community meetings starting in April of 2010 and running most recently to February of this year. So we've held 11 meetings through all those affected neighborhoods. Most of the meetings took place in spring and summer of 2010, and then we've had a series of meetings in 2011 because some time elapsed. But since we originally introduced this, we wanted to remind folks of what we were doing. But we have held 11 community meetings to date, and before the final adoption, we're likely to hold a few more meetings just to make sure that the public understands what we're doing, property owners and businesses understand what we're doing, and what are the advantages of this action that we're proposing to you.
Okay, and within these commercial corridors, what percentage would you say of the corridor is residential?
Probably a small portion. It's probably roughly 90% commercial, what we're adding. This is a deviation from the current area, which is almost exclusively commercial. One of the reasons we looked at some residential neighborhoods which abut the commercial corridors is that redevelopment dollars by statute have to go into capital investment, which most often includes infrastructure. It could be everything from upgrading utility lines to streets and sidewalks. And when you're doing an infrastructure project, as we found working with our Public Works Department, oftentimes it's hard to start and stop on a dime on a clean line. That if infrastructure is outdated, it's outdated. If it's non-existent, it's non-existent. So we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity, as needed, to put infrastructure into these corridors, and some of that may benefit the adjacent residential neighborhoods. At a separate action, you are going to be looking at a recommendation from the Planning Commission on April 18th regarding land use. These are land use maps before you today, but you're not voting on the land use. But I would point out, and you'll see, and you'll have a chance to vote at April 18th, that we're not proposing to change the land use for these residential neighborhoods. We're keeping residential residential. If property owners wanted to change residential to commercial, they'd have to go before the Planning Commission and the Council for a general plan amendment. So we're not impacting the use of that property. We're keeping residential neighborhoods. We're simply allowing for the use of a fiscal tool that we have through redevelopment to invest in those neighborhoods, and that's why we're including those residential neighborhoods in the preliminary plan.
I know in the past, having dealt with the redevelopment agency, that pretty much Ward 5 and Ward 3 has the majority of the current RDA area. And I know in the past residents have been concerned as it relates to eminent domain. Can you speak to that piece of legislation within the policy of this new expansion, how that works, and what the council has done in the past as far as to address those concerns that have arisen?
Certainly. Eminent domain is allowed by state law. It's something that this agency has not used for well over a decade, going probably closer to 20 years. And this council, acting as the board of directors for the agency, had adopted a resolution and ordinance stating the public policy that of the intent to not use eminent domain. So in the past 10 years, we have not used eminent domain for redevelopment. We don't think it's a tool currently that we need, given the success we're having investing with willing partners. When we do purchase property, we like to do that in a willing seller, willing buyer transaction at arm's length. We don't feel the need to use eminent domain. So that is a concern that comes up, but we do have that ordinance that the council adopted. I don't have the ordinance number and the date before me, but the council did adopt that as a matter of policy, and since the council sits as the board of directors for the agency, we're required to adhere to that policy. So any concerned residents should know that we have on the books city policy and by ordinance that we're not going to be using eminent domain. So as long as that ordinance is valid, there's no risk to an individual resident that the agency would use eminent domain for the taking of a property.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? Councilwoman Tarkanian, please.
I would just like to add, in addition to the meetings, the 11 meetings you mentioned, we had many meetings with neighborhood associations and with individuals. Members of my staff and myself have gone out and spoken with the individuals and answered questions or referred them to your office. So I just wanted to let Councilman Barlow know that.
Thank you. Councilwoman, this is yours.
We've worked for over 2 years on this, and some of the members who are still here from when I first got on the council will know that I was always listed as part of the RDA, and I kept saying the only part of my ward listed is a girly place someplace on the other side of the freeway. I said I had no type of help for businesses. With the economy going the way it is, and I'm sure people know how Sahara is in need, Charleston is in need, Decatur's in need, this is very much sought after from what we have heard from the community. And we've really tried to give them lots of opportunity to be heard. So I am so happy we're finally being able to do this, and I move to approve.
Thank you very much. There's a motion. Would you please vote? Please post. Thank you, Mr. Arndt. Motion carries. We look forward to the next step. Thank you. Moving on to item number 7, agenda item. Citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the redevelopment agency. No subject may be acted upon by the redevelopment agency unless that subject's on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium, please. Give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. Is there anyone, good morning, wishing to speak? Please step to the podium and state your name.
My name is Anthony Hodge. I live 123 Sir David. I just want to say I'm here to congratulate the new city councilman, and I want to turn in my yellow card for later. Is that okay?
Thank you.
And have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodges. If you would give that to our city clerk right here. Thank you. And anyone else wishing to be heard? Hearing none, we'll move on now to item number 8. Agency member recognition. Comments made by individual agency members during this portion of the agenda will not be acted upon by the agency unless that subject is on the agenda scheduled for action. Is there any member of the Redevelopment Agency who wishes to speak under this portion of the agenda? Councilman Anthony.
Yeah, I know quite a few people came in after the mayor's introductory remarks. I just want to remind you, if you have a parking ticket for the parking garage, make sure you get it validated on the way out of City Hall so you don't have to pay. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone with comments under this portion? Hearing none, this redevelopment agency is adjourned, and we will start our council meeting at 9 a.m., which looks to be in 6 minutes. Thank you very much.